Hello and welcome back to my channel, and in today's review we're once again looking at another premium collectible. This time it is the Transformers Age of Extinction 122 scale Comicave Optimus Prime, based on his appearance of course from Age of Extinction. Now if you are in the market for picking one of these figures up, then I definitely recommend that you should check out Showzi's store, and for that there will be links down in the description box below. This piece here was originally supposed to set out in order to rival the products coming out by 3A. However, this was really and truly the only product that Comicave ever really touched upon for their premium scale Transformers figures, and here it is, the Age of Extinction version of Optimus Prime. Now this figure is really quite impressive in terms of scale. This is a 15-inch figure, and 50% of this figure's overall mass is in fact die cast, making this an incredibly hefty piece. You honestly have to hold one in hand in order to really gather a sense of how much weight this figure actually entails. This figure also comes with a plethora of accessories, so we'll take a quick look at them first, and then we'll take a more detailed look at the figure himself. Now, taking a look at one of the largest accessories that this figure comes with, here is Optimus Prime's shield, obviously based on its appearance from Age of Extinction. As you can see, I think that this is a fantastic recreation of how Prime's shield looked like in that Transformers 4 movie. I think that Comicave have applied an exceptional amount of weathering effect in order to make this look realistic, and its overall design really does capture what we see in the film. We can also see details such as the flames throughout the shield, obviously to give it a sense that it has actually transformed from the truck of Optimus. I love the metallic red paint apps in the center of the shield, as well as going down to where the barrel section would be. When you flip it under to the underside, as you can see, there isn't really too much going on here. We can pick out the details such as where the blaster would be, as of course in the movie this does double as Optimus's gun. Here we've got these blue sections which are in fact made out of a die-cast structure. Unfortunately on mine I do appear to actually be missing one of the circular rings, which is a shame. However, considering it's on the underside, it's not a massive issue. We've also got some nice weathered and dry brushing effect going on here, and it's a really quite hefty piece due to these two big blue pieces of die-cast, which too have got some nice paint apps in order to give them a weathered appearance. Another accessory that this figure does of course come with is in fact Optimus's sword that we see also in Age of Extinction as well as The Last Knight. As you can see, I have chosen to leave the hand on, as it is quite a pain to slide the hands on and off, and I don't want to risk scuffing the paint on the end of this sword. As you can see, this too has been detailed really nicely, and I love the Cybertronian hieroglyphs on either side of the sword. It really is a fantastic attention to detail, and the paint scheme that they've used on this is magnificent. This really does look as if though it is a die-cast material, when in reality this whole piece is in fact plastic. It's got a great dry brushed and gunmetal effect for the tip of the blade. We've also got some nice detailings too in the center section, as well as this red and blue section, which is obviously supposed to replicate the flames of Optimus. Moving down to the handle section, as you can see, this too has also got some nice detailing, and then the tip has also got a metallic red and blue paint app. So overall for the sword, this is a fantastic recreation of what we see in the movie, and I'm so glad to see Comicave recapturing what we saw in the movie in this plastic format. We also do get a pair of different gestures for hands. As you can see here, this version here is the more fisted type of hand. All the fingers on this version are in fact sealed, so cannot be moved whatsoever, whereas this hand here is obviously more for holding the sword. As you can see, you've got the slot in there, and these have been painted really nicely with the fingers done in a metallic like silver, and the gauntlet section being picked out in the red and blue paint app. We also do in fact get a pair of actual individually articulated fingers if you wish to display the figure in different poses, which is fantastic to see, as Comicave have in fact given us the option to have open fingers and to be posed in whatever way we so choose, or to have their already gestured hand in order to hold the accessories more securely. As you can see, these are articulated in a great range of motion. All of the fingers are on ball joints, so they can be rotated and lifted up and down. All the joints at the knuckles and the tips are also on hinge joints, so you can really get these into some fantastic gestured poses. We also get these sections here. This is the sword hilt, and then this section is what you remove the back piece of and plug on, which I'll showcase very shortly. And that is also a great inclusion to add, as you can have Optimus looking as if though he can actually hilt the sword, or have a more clean and slender look for the design. And then finally we actually get an alternate mouth plate, this time without without the mouth plate and with the mouth exposed, which once again opens up for a great range of different posing options and really can give the figure a completely different look. And here we have the figure himself looking absolutely magnificent. Now I've got to be straight up and say straight away that this figure nowhere near captures the level of detail that the free A version was able to do. However, this figure is considerably shorter than that version and is slightly cheaper, so I can kind of see as to why this figure isn't as detailed. This version also has 50% die-cast pieces, so it is also a lot more focused on the overall durability and the feel of the figure, more so than the individual details. But nevertheless, the details that are here definitely do match what we see in the movie, and I think that they've done a reasonably enough good job to capture his appearance from Age of Extinction. Now, showcasing the hilt section that I previously discussed in the accessory segment, if we turn around to the back now, as you can see, this piece here is very flush along with the design, and you honestly wouldn't think that it could break apart. However, what you're supposed to do is remove it from the back just like so, which will expose a T section, which will then take this version with the plug and just snap this into it just like so. Now you have two options here. You can either leave this exposed like this and actually take the shield and have the shield stored on Optimus Prime's back just like so, or what you can do is you can actually then take this and store this on the back and have the sword sheathed in there. Or alternatively, you can actually take the shield, take this section and pull it out just like so, and then take this sheath section or the hilt for the sword, plug this into it instead, then take this and plug this onto the back. And then if we actually take the sword, I'm not going to pull it out of the hand, so I will pull the whole hand off, but you can sheath this on the back just like so and have both Optimus's sword and shield both stored on his back. And with the hand on it, it does look rather odd, but as you can see, you do have quite a different range of posing options for Optimus Prime's weapons within the robot mode. And now to actually take a detailed look at the figure himself, of course I'm first off going to start with his head sculpt. As you can see, I think that the head sculpt has been in fact detailed and sculpted incredibly well, and it definitely does capture the knight aesthetic that we see in the movie. However, my only criticism with it is that I do believe the eyes to be slightly too wide. Perhaps where this black circular section ends really should be where a silver piece should be. I don't think that the eyes should recess that far backwards, as it does, at least when the LED function is turned off, create for quite an unusual and sort of wide-eyed appearance for Optimus, which of course isn't accurate to the movie. And when we do in fact pull off this mouth plate and replace it with the mouth, that look does appear to be slightly more noticeable with the wider eyes look. But nevertheless, I definitely think it looks rather nice, and as I stated, with the mouth plate on, it doesn't look too noticeable whatsoever. We can pick out details such as Optimus's antennae, and as you can see, I love the paint apps that they've applied here. A very gunmetal, very realistic type of paint. And then when you flip around to the back, as you can see, we've got the blue section, which has got some speckles of silver in order to give it a weathered appearance. If you turn around to the back section, as you can see, the smokestacks looks absolutely magnificent on the back. They do appear to have been given a chrome paint application to give them a very reflective and realistic look. These pieces here are in fact die cast. Unfortunately, the smokestacks are plastic, just with a nice paint deco. But as you can see, I think the back looks incredible. We can pick out details such as these gas canisters, which are unfortunately not die cast, they are plastic. But nevertheless, they have been painted in a way to really give them a very realistic look. As we are on the back of the figure, if you remove this head section just like so, you are exposed to a battery compartment as well as a switch, and flicking that switch on will of course activate Optimus's LED function, and as you can see, the eyes do illuminate a very nice LED blue to give the figure a sense of realism. And then of course, just switching it off is just as easy as switching it on. You simply just switch it off just like so, and then take this section here and align this appropriately, and it will snap into place by 3 pegs and a magnet. Now turning this back around, in order to show you the mouth plate exchangeability, you simply just want to remove this just like so. It can be rather difficult as these pieces are rather fiddly. Once that is removed, you will in fact be exposed to a magnet, and on the back of these mouthpieces there are also magnets, and then just inserting this version As you can see, here we have Optimus with a more neutral expression without the mouth guard. And as you can see, here is really where I think the eyes do look rather odd. It is a lot better when you have the LED function on. But for me, if the eyes were slightly smaller, it probably would have given him a more accurate look. But nevertheless, I think that this mouth design is definitely very faithful to what we see in the Age of Extinction movie. Here we've got the knight armor panels on either side, which looks fantastic. And these shoulder armor sections here are in fact completely die cast. They are very hefty pieces and they are extremely durable. As you can see, they can be maneuvered out of the way to accompany articulation, but I'll showcase that later on. And we've got some magnificent weathered details on them as well, with the Optimus Prime traditional movie truck flames. Even on the chest, these sections here too have been detailed and weathered appropriately. The torso area is also really nicely detailed. There isn't much in terms of layering. It is mainly just one layer with different paint apps in order to give it some depth, which I think looks better on camera than it does in person. In person, it does appear to be quite flat, whereas on camera, you are definitely getting the more three-dimensional look. Here is obviously where an Autobot insignia should be. However, on this figure, it is unfortunately missing. And then if we turn down now to the forearms or the gauntlet sections of Prime, as you can see, this is obviously to match his more earlier on scenes in Age of Extinction before he grabs the Knight's Temenos sword, and these sections become a lot more complicated. These are definitely a lot more streamlined in design, but I think definitely capture the essence of what we see in the movie, and I love the flame detailings on them as well. And as you can see, we've got some nice sculpted in ridges and different armor plating, so really nice attention to detail. Here we've got the whole skirt area, which has also been given a lovely blue metallic like paint job, and here for the hip skirts you can see that these have been painted in a silver paint more so than a blue and red paint, which I don't believe is accurate. To me, this version of Optimus either appears to be based on very early concept art from Age of Extinction, or in fact Comicave's own stylistic approach to the Age of Extinction design. Nevertheless, I think that it looks quite nice in person. However, this definitely isn't the most definitive representation of how Optimus appeared in Age of Extinction. If you turn around now to the back, as you can see, we've got some more of that detailing of skirt armor, which I think looks really nice. And we've also got some detailings of a spinal plate with these gold plates on the side, which I must say look absolutely incredible. There really is some nice detailing on this figure, so please don't get me wrong when I am flooring the accuracy to the movie. That doesn't mean that I don't like the piece whatsoever, as I really do. I think the details look remarkable. I just don't think that it is as accurate as perhaps Comicave could have got it. And then as we move down to the thigh areas, as you can see, we've got these red tubes which seem to be apparent on all Optimus Prime figures. These are made of a fairly flexible type of plastic, so you really don't have to worry about snapping or breaking them. And we can see more of that armored detail with some lovely wash over the top in order to give it a very realistic look. And then turning now down to the shins as well as the feet of the figure, this probably has to be some of my favourite areas of the figure due to there being so much going on here. As you can see, these big pieces here are in fact die cast. The majority of the bottom half of the figure is die cast. These big panels here are completely die cast, so it really does give him a great sense of weight in terms of gravity. He's got these magnificent flames with these lighter blue highlights to show the lining of the flames. We've got some magnificent Cybertronian hieroglyphs actually sculpted and painted within the sculpt, so they definitely do look very awesome. And then if you turn around to the sides, we've got some more detailing, and this section here is in fact layered, and I definitely think looks better for it, as it does make it look more of a complex design. And then when we turn around now to the back, we've got more of that armored look with the flame design, and I really do think that as a whole it looks really well done. Turning now to the feet, as you can see, these definitely do capture the essence of the Optimus Prime feet design in the movie, with all of these jagged knight spikes, and we've got this blue section here, which I do believe should be in fact red, but nevertheless it does look nice here. And I really like the weathering effect that they've also got on the toes. So overall, in terms of detail, this figure looks absolutely incredible. Despite it maybe not being as accurate as something such as the 3A version, I definitely think that Comicave did a great job of capturing the essence of the Optimus Prime Knight design. And if this figure is just supposed to be a stylistic approach, I definitely think that it does a very good job at just capturing some of the essence from that Knight design. Now, in terms of articulation, once again, this figure is not as articulated as the 3A Knight Optimus Prime, but nevertheless has a great range of posability, despite this figure having a massive amount of die cast. To begin with, the head is on a ball joint. At 2 places, there is a ball joint at the head as well as the neck. So using both of these, you are able to get a fair degree of motion. However, it won't tilt any further than that, left and right. It can look up to about that far and then down that far. It does look down more so than it looks up. Turning to these sections here, these whole armor pieces are on ball joints, so they can rotate forwards and backwards as well as hinge let out to the sides. This whole armor section is also on a double hinge joint, so you can shift it down and rotate it up if you so choose. These arms are on ball joints, so they can rotate forwards and backwards. They can also hinge out to the sides on a butterfly joint. There is also a rotation joint at the bicep area, allowing you to rotate that left and right as well. And there is also a double joint at the elbow. However, due to the complicated design, you really can't get much more than that range. So it is honestly a double jointed elbow, which only gives you roughly 90 degrees of motion. There is also a ball joint at the hands. And if you opt to have the articulated fingers as showcased earlier, you can maneuver those round in whatever way you so choose. If you utilize the butterfly joints in the figure in order to maximize articulation, these chest panels are able to be collapsed inwards, obviously to allow you to get to pull these in more. However, honestly, the range that these give you, you honestly probably wouldn't clang into these too much unless you were really getting these pieces up close and personal with these. So nevertheless, it is a nice inclusion that Comicave allowed for some clearance issues. This whole section here is on a ball joint, however, it is very restricted and it only moves left and right that far. It doesn't really rotate left to right either, but it can tilt side to side. There is a waist joint which can rotate left and right ever so slightly, but as you can see, you're really not getting much range of motion out of that whatsoever. It can crunch forward to a fair degree and back to a fair degree as well. Turning now down to the legs, all of this hip armor is on ball joints, so it can lift up and maneuver out of the way in order to accommodate for leg poses. In order to really get the great range of the legs, they are on ball joints. However, I would be very delicate with them, as when I first got this figure out, they were incredibly stiff. Now you have this joint here which is actually able to be lowered down in order for you to evade clearance, and utilizing these ball joints you can get the figure's leg to kick out to about that far. I'm honestly not going to force it anymore as I don't want to break the joints, and you could probably get it to kick back to about that degree before it begins to start obstructing into the back of the skirt. They can of course rotate forwards and backwards as well to give you some thigh articulation, but I honestly wouldn't mess around with these ball joints too much unless you're very cautious in doing so. The knees, you do in fact get a double hinge joint, so you are able to hinge those back to a fair degree. However, once again, it is a double joint that once again only really allows for a 90-degree range of motion. And then finally, the feet are on ball joints, so they can move left and right, forwards and backwards, and the toes are also on their own independent hinge, so you can get those to hinge forwards and backwards as well. All of these panels are on their own hinges, so you can flare those out forwards and backwards if you so choose, or compress them for a much more slender stylistic look. And for a comparison, here is the Comicave version of Optimus Prime compared next to the premium scale 3A Optimus. Now, of course, you'll be able to notice the stark difference in terms of scale. The 3A version is significantly taller than the Comicave version. However, upon looking at them closer, you'll also be able to notice subtle detailings, such as how more movie accurate this version by 3A is compared to the Comicave version. Now, I've got to give it props to Comicave. They did release their version years before this 3A version. I do believe that this figure came out on the back of 2014 or even maybe early 2015, whereas this figure only came out this year in 2019. So they have had 2 movies to work with. They had both Age of Extinction and The Last Knight, so we're able to perfect the design on this figure. This figure is also a lot more expensive than the Comicave version as well, and the Comicave version is a lot more substantial in terms of weight than the 3A version, due to the 50% of the figure being made out of die-cast pieces. Personally, I'm glad to have both of these figures in the collection. However, if you're on a slight budget and you can't really afford to give the space that the 3A version deserves, then this this Comicave version is definitely a suitable enough replacement, and even by itself, I definitely think that it is a fantastic collectible of Optimus Prime from the Age of Extinction / The Last Night movie. So that is my review on the Transformers Age of Extinction Comicave 122 scale Optimus Prime. Personally, I actually do really like this figure despite its flaws. I think that it looks fantastic in robot mode, and it has a great amount of heft to it, making it a very premium and high-end figure. I think that all of the pieces on this figure feel incredibly durable, other than I would be rather careful with the hip joints. I don't necessarily believe them to be as sturdy as they really should be, considering they are only plastic and they are holding the majority of the die-cast pieces, which are in fact situated in the legs. The figure has got some incredible detailing. Whilst not matching the level of detailing of the 3A version, I still think that it is a great representation of how Optimus appeared in Transformers Age of Extinction. It has a fantastic LED feature, it comes with a great range of different accessories, and I also believe you can get this figure into some fantastic poses, and believe me, I have tried myself. Although, once again, I have been rather careful with this figure, as I do not think the legs will hold up over time if you keep moving them around. I could of course be wrong, I'm just willing to rather be careful than to be sorry. So with all that being said, if you are interested in picking one of these Comicave Optimus Prime figures up, then you should definitely check out Showzy's store, where he is in fact available to order right now, and for that there will be links down in the description box below. I hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please also let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.